All right. So, mate, just to start, tell us about your experience working with me. What was it like and the program itself?
It's been really, really good. I've thoroughly enjoyed the program and have taken away some things that probably have surprised me a little bit, particularly around the nutritional tracking. Um, at the start, I was someone who I've got a sporting background, so I was probably a little bit skeptical. Like, yeah, I already know what I need to eat. I just need to actually do it.
Yeah.
But as soon as I started doing the nutrition tracking, it actually made me much more accountable for what I was eating, and has given me some clearer focus on things that were not good for me and just how bad they were. And so as soon as we had the calorie tracking goals and that accountability, it really helped me with that focus and that bit of um, probably going from unconsciously incompetent to being consciously incompetent, and then can start to progress past that. So yeah, but I found the program really good so far.
Yeah, that's it. So, what was it? What was the biggest thing that you realised through the nutrition tracking? What was the thing that was causing hiccups that you didn't realise until you started tracking?
The biggest thing, I suppose, was just for me, when I was having bad eating days, just how bad those bad eating days were in comparison to what I needed to eat to keep myself at a healthy weight and to keep myself in a consistent, healthy pattern. So I would go good for a few days, and then I would have a couple of days of a big blowout. And that nutrition tracking of realizing how many calories are in a McDonald's meal or are in a pizza, when I started to count those calories and realize, oh, I've only got a certain amount for the day, and if I have a pizza, that's the whole amount almost. That sort of really put it into realization for me about how far beyond and why I'd got myself into a situation where I was quite significantly overweight. So yeah, that was a big turning point for me, was just seeing that. And as soon as I was able to see that written down rather than just sort of feel like I knew about it, that really held me accountable, because I was like, I don't want to do that any further and want to try and achieve those targets.
Yeah, that's cool. So, what weight did you start out at?
I started at 106.1, which is not a nice one to be in three figures. So good for cricket, not good for weight.
Exactly. And how tall are you, mate?
I'm about 180 centimeters, so 5'10" or 11.
Yeah, good stuff. And you're now below the 100 mark.
Yes.
Which is
so
cool.
So I was 99.1 this morning.
Yeah,
so,
nice.
Yeah.
Still ticking along.
Yeah, still ticking along. So yeah, still got a fair bit that I want to go, but yeah, for so far I'm doing exactly in the path that I want to go.
Yeah, and we're in is it week 8 now or week 9?
Week 8, I believe.
Yeah, halfway through.
Yeah, halfway through week 8. Yep.
So 8 weeks, about 6-7 kilos.
Yeah, right on, bang on 7. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. That's cool.
Yep.
What have you found to be the toughest thing about losing the weight? Have you found the process itself difficult, or has it been relatively seamless compared to what you thought it would be?
It's been relatively seamless compared to what I thought it was going to be honest. And considering I was starting from a base of not a lot of exercise and eating poorly pretty regularly, to trying to go to a level of exercise in 5 times a week minimum, for an hour in each of those 5 sessions, and then obviously consciously counting those calories. So it was a big shift, but I found it relatively seamless, and more of the challenge has been just individual days where if you feel a bit tired or you run out a bit of time, you work a bit later, those things, to try and maintain that discipline. They've been the challenges rather than the overall process.
Yeah. And how did you summon up the discipline to get over those tough points, those sticking points? What was it that gave you the discipline to be able to do that and push through it?
Well, part of it for me is I sort of touched on it already, but as soon as I saw those calorie amounts, that sort of has really triggered me. So there's been numerous times where you go, oh, could just go and have a burger or have a pie or whatever it is. But then I think about, well, then I can't, if I don't want to lie, do you know what I mean, on what I've eaten, then that's a significant portion of what my daily calorie intake can be at this point. And so I don't want to lie. And so I'm competitive as well. So as soon as I start to cheat myself, then I don't feel like I'm doing the right thing. So that bit of internal competitiveness has helped me.
Yeah.
And the second fact is that I was doing the program for a reason. So I tried to mentally just tell myself, if I'm here to do the program, I've just got to push through those little weak moments and make sure that I try and stay as disciplined as I can, because otherwise I'm just hurting myself and I'm just going to push myself back further.
Yeah. Yeah. So the stage you're at now compared to when you started, how fit, healthy, and strong do you feel now compared to when you started? What's been the biggest changes?
Significant changes in all aspects, particularly from a health and fitness, like strength and aerobic capacity for me has improved hugely. Like, I don't know what percentage it would be, but it's a huge amount. I remember the first session we did together, it was a 6 kilo goblet squat, or might have even been body weight, I think, to start.
Yeah.
And I went home from that session and I was sore for like 3 days. Whereas now in week 8, on Monday when we trained, it was a 28 kilo goblet squat.
Yeah.
And we're doing 3 sets of 15 of those, rather than, I think it was the first day, it might have been a 6 kilo and 3 sets of 8. And I struggled to get through that. So from a strength perspective, like, the difference is ridiculous. And I'm not someone that had a strength training background. I was more of a field sport, ball sport background. So I hadn't done a lot of strength training.
Yeah.
So I was starting at a low strength base, but my improvement's been huge, even if I do say so myself, but it's been a big increase. Yeah. And then aerobically, on the days where I haven't been training with you, I've been going for runs and trying to add in my own little bit of strength training here and there as well. And my aerobic capacity through running has improved dramatically. So the first run I went on, I think I ran for 3 minutes and then I had to have a 2-minute walk.
Yeah.
Whereas I've only just come back from a run and I ran for 12 minutes and was completely fine without having a walk at the end of that 12 minutes. So, and could go further. So yeah, that increase has been huge.
Yeah, that's cool. And with obviously starting out, something that people sort of get a little bit taken aback by is that muscular pain that you get from that first session. And it happens with everyone. And as you start building your capacity, you get better and better at recovering, and your recovery rate gets better. How have you found your recovery rate and the muscle soreness that you're experiencing now compared to the first few weeks? What's been the shift?
Oh, yeah, chalk and cheese. So as at the first session, I think I was sore. And when I say sore, like physically sore to like lift your legs up and down, like very sore for about 3 or 4 days. So that was a big challenge. But then now, even though we're lifting a lot heavier and doing more repetitions of those weights, I'm just a little bit muscle fatigued the next day, but not significantly sore. So yeah, it's a totally different spectrum. And yeah, as I've got stronger, my recovery's got quicker and I'm able to sustain how often I train as well. So the first sort of week, I found it hard to do 5 sessions just because of fatigue. Like, my legs were sore, my shoulders were sore, my arms were sore, that sort of thing. Whereas now I'm getting through 5 sessions quite comfortably and more looking forward to it. Like, I need to sort of do it a bit. So yeah, it's been a significant change.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. Mate, tell me the story about, I remember you mentioned a while ago, you were golfing, and usually when you were golfing, what was the story? What was the golf story?
Oh, well, it was just a simple one. Like, so I haven't played a lot of golf for a while because I've been very busy with another sport and venture that I'm involved with. But through the coronavirus stuff, I've started playing a bit of golf on the weekend. So the first game of golf I had, I'd only done one session with you, I think, and then I played golf on that weekend. And generally by the end of the 18 holes, you start to get a little bit leg weary, and you sort of feel that distance that you're walking over those, I think it's about 6 or 7 Ks generally that you walk, and you start to get a bit leg weary and you feel it. And then I think I played golf again about 3 or 4 weeks later. So I think it's been another month on now since this story. And I got through the 18 holes, and by the 18th hole, I was like completely fine. My leg strength was a huge increase, and didn't feel fatigued at all in the legs at all during that game. So over a course of a month, I'd increased obviously my physical capacity greatly through the strength of my legs. So after 6 or 7 Ks, I would have comfortably gone again.
That's cool. That's brilliant. And your drive got a bit more power behind it, didn't it?
Well, so I'm attributing it a bit to the strength. I think it's a bit of a combination. So I had a couple of drives in a couple of weeks ago that were the longest I've hit the ball, and I think that comes from greater core strength, greater upper body strength, and greater leg strength. So getting that downward motion through the ball and that sort of thing is helping me drive the ball further, which was an interesting little takeaway that I didn't expect. So I'm not a huge golfer. I hit the ball okay. I get around the course decent, but as I said, I'm not a huge golfer or a completely regular golfer. So I was a bit surprised that, oh wow, that's actually a lot further than I usually would hit the ball.
Yeah, exactly. So mate, let's talk a bit about the mental changes that have happened. How have you found, what's been the biggest mental change that you've had since you started?
I think the biggest mental change would be probably a combination between that want to train. Before I started, I had got myself into a lazy habit. So even though I had a sporting background, over the last 2 years, I had got myself into a habit where I was lazy and would always put exercise at the bottom of the priority. So that has shifted now, where tonight it's raining quite heavily, it's cold. It's been raining all day, but I still went for a run, and I wanted to go for a run, and I felt like I really needed to. And so that's been a big shift, because now my priorities my priorities have changed in where I'm placing that exercise. So that's a big mental change for me. And the other one would be the nutrition side of it. Again, I had got lazy and was making poor decisions easily without even really worrying about the consequences, and more thinking, she'll be right. Do you know what I mean? And you sort of start to tell yourself that you're not as overweight as what you are as well. You start to believe, I'm not that bad. It's not that far, until you start to actually train and you go, wow, I can't even do one push-up.
Yeah.
Like, I need to make a change. So, so that's been another big change, where definitely much more mentally driven to not make bad choices. So I'm still allowing myself to have a cheat meal here and there, but I'm just not having the big blowout or having the consistency of bad choices.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got that little voice that's a bit louder in the back of your head now, helping you make balanced decisions. So, all right, I've done this on this day. So tomorrow I need to make sure that I'm a little bit more switched on with things.
Yeah, 100%. And once I've started to see a few, the kilograms tick down, it's made me a bit more, I don't know if competitive is the right word for this, but I'm sort of like, I know if I go and have a big blowout, then I'm going to be back, and I have to do all that work to go back again. I don't want to go up and then have to work harder to come back. So so that's sort of another thing that's sort of driving me. I sort of think, if I have a bad day where I just eat rubbish, then I'm going to weigh back over 100, and I don't want to weigh back over 100. So I need to be disciplined.
Yeah, exactly. So you got that momentum going now.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So out of everything, what do you think has been your biggest win so far?
Biggest win would be changing the priority of where I see nutrition and physical activity in my life. As I said, I had got into a habit where I was focused on work. I was working 2 jobs, at my normal day job, and then working as a coach in the evening, and dedicating a huge amount of time to that, and then fitting in time for a young family on the back of that. And I had definitely lost focus of my own individual nutrition and my own individual health.
Yeah.
So that the biggest win for me is at present, I've really been able to make a shift to prioritize without sacrificing some of those other things, but just prioritizing that nutrition, better nutrition and better physical activity outcomes for myself at a higher point in my life, which has been a really big win for me.
Yeah. And with obviously you've got a young family, how's it been incorporating the nutrition tracking? Because everyone gets a bit scared of the nutrition tracking side of things. They're worried that it's going to take ages. They're worried that the training is going to take ages. How have you found incorporating your new discipline and routine into your family life? Has it impacted it much, or is it pretty balanced?
No, it's been very balanced. Obviously, a little bit different with the coronavirus at the minute, so that's changed things a little bit in the way, obviously, of training outdoors and that. But in terms of the nutrition tracking, it's very quick. So I hadn't used MyFitnessPal before. I'd heard about it a little bit, but never used it, never really looked into it. And at first, I must admit, I was one of those people that probably thought, oh, this is going to take a long time, but it really doesn't. And once you've done a week or 2 weeks, it even becomes quicker again because you have a log already of some standard meals that you eat regularly that you can just regurgitate the same through those when you use those meals again. So it's got a huge database. It's easy to search and it's really quick to log it. And then the tracking at the end of the week, the calculating of the calories and that again is really quick because the app does it for you and you have to just do a simple calculation of those calories to get the total, but it tracks everything else for you. So it's all there and readily available. So that's been easy to fit into my lifestyle. And then the exercise, again, I've had to change the way I prioritize it. But we, as a family, we've sort of planned out a little schedule so that we know how to fit in bath times and all those sort of things along with a training schedule. And yeah, whilst it's not always easy, but it's definitely not been a massive problem at all.
Yeah, that's good. How did you go about planning that time? So did you guys sit down as a family and figure out what was going to work for each of you and how you were going to schedule things in?
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. And we're actually only talking last night about refining that again as we start to sort of come out of coronavirus and some things start to change a little bit in terms of work location. So yeah, so that schedule will get refined a little bit to make sure that we fit in all the things we need to fit in. But yeah, it's been quite easy really in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, that's good. With the strategy that we're following and everything you've learned so far, is this going to be something that you can continue implementing even after we've stopped working together? Is this something that you'll be able to maintain and go back to?
Yeah, 100%. So even after if we finish working together, it's going to be quite comfortable. And I think it'll be something that I'll continue to do the calorie tracking because I quite enjoy it. And I actually starting to like knowing what food is as well. Yeah. So I'm like a little bit curious now as well. Like, oh, I wonder what that is. And I'm happy, like I don't mind scanning the barcode in the app to get the little calculation up. So yeah, it's something that I think that I shouldn't say I know that I'll continue with after the program's finished. Yeah, for sure. Just it's a good peace of mind for me, and it's something, as I said, when I get to the end, I don't want to then just go back to old habits. So I want to be able to try and maintain and continue the gains and the improvements that I've been able to make. So that calorie tracking is important for me because it keeps me accountable and keeps me competitive against myself.
Yeah. What about the strength training side of things?
Yeah, I think that's something that can be maintained. It'll be obviously different without being one-on-one training, but part of the program that I've liked is someone that's coming from a non-strength training background, the techniques and the way that you've talked me through a lot of those exercises. I know that I could comfortably go to the gym now and lift in a safe way and know that I'm also getting benefit and I'm not just in the gym for like 2 hours wasting my time. I know that I could go to the gym, be there for 45 minutes. I know what exercises, roughly how many reps I need to do of those exercises, what weight I can lift and how to lift those weights to make sure that I'm not injuring myself, but I'm also getting benefit as well. So yeah, that's been a really positive part of the program for me, is learning those techniques and learn a bit more about the lifting part of it, so that, yeah, I could do it by myself.
Yeah, that's cool. So all up, what have you found to be the most valuable aspect of the program so far for yourself?
Oh, that's a hard question.
Yeah.
Because it's hard, and I mean this quite sincerely. I found it all pretty valuable for me. I suppose I'd have to say the nutrition track has been the most valuable part for me, because I think that's been the biggest mentality shift. Learning how to lift and learning those correct techniques and doing that training has been great. But I think that I wouldn't be getting as much improvement without that nutrition accountability and that change in my eating habits. So that's probably been the biggest.
Yeah, good stuff. So then what do you feel is different about this program compared to others that you've seen advertised or other sorts of training programs that you've done in the past? What's the key difference?
I think the key difference for me is I haven't felt pressure from yourself to be at a certain level or to meet certain targets in a negative way. So you've been able to set targets for me around calories and around protein, and then obviously planning the training sessions that we do together. But I don't feel like there's been a huge pressure on like, oh, you have to eat this amount of tuna and you have to eat this amount of protein in this certain amount of way. It's been pretty free on what I eat, as long as I am trying to get as close to those targets as I can. So that's one thing that I've found that's been good, is there's been targets there, but there has been space to actually find that level yourself without feeling like you're going to get in trouble or anything like that.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. I like that, because I'm not a fan of authority myself. So who would you recommend the program to? And like, why? Would you recommend the program to people?
Yeah, 100% would recommend the program to people. As I said, I've had really good success so far and hope to continue getting success with it. I would recommend the program to anyone that's had a busy life or have found themselves probably neglecting their own health and physical well-being, because the program that you've provided me with has given me, as I said, that bit of freedom to be able to manage it the way I need to manage it to fit into my life. It's not like something that's been hugely onerous. I've been able to adapt the way that I'm living to tailor the program to my lifestyle. So that's been really good. So people that are busy and people that are looking to improve their strength and have a longer term focus on their strength and their fitness, I think it's really it would be really good for those people.
Yeah, good stuff. And what about the content side of things? How have you found the educational content?
Yeah, really good. So the videos each week have been like in depth. So there's been a lot of good information in that. Sorry, I've got Aya playing in the background. No, the videos have been really good, and they've provided just bits of extra information that can help refocus sometimes, and bits of extra information on the reasons why we're training the way that you've set the program, or why we're tracking nutrition in the way we are, or some of the smaller details around the nutrition tracking and the things that can help you with that side of things as well. So I found the content definitely invaluable and a good part of the program.
Yeah, that's cool. The coolest thing that I've seen for you is, like you mentioned before, your consciousness is picking up a gear. So you're
Hmm.
more conscious of the decisions that you're making in regard to your nutrition, your exercise, and your health and your fitness. So
Yep.
you're able to make, it's not that you're able to make better decisions, it's that you're now conscious of the decisions that you can make at a certain moment in
Yep.
time. That's the biggest thing that I've seen for you. And it's, what would you attribute that to? What do you think it is that's caused that consciousness?
Um, Two things. I think one, a little bit of, well, not a little bit, a fair bit of desire from myself to change.
Yeah,
So I didn't want to be fat. So
yeah,
that was a pretty big motivator.
yeah.
And
Understandable.
yeah, I didn't want to be the fat dad. So that was a big contributor.
Yeah,
And the second part, as I've sort of explained earlier, but just seeing it visually, seeing those calories visually on a page really shifted that mindset of mine, which I've admitted that I wouldn't have thought until I actually did it. So that would be one of my bits of advice for anyone that asked me about it would be, oh, do you think that I should like count my calories? I would say, yeah, I would, because if for someone who was a skeptic and would have thought, nah, it'll be okay, wouldn't impact me that much, it actually has had a huge impact.
yeah. That's brilliant. You've read my
Yeah.
mind, mate, because that was the exact same thing that I was going to ask you before you mentioned it.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, final thing, mate. What was your biggest learning and takeaway from the program?
Um, Biggest learning. Oh, it's a really hard one because I've learned a few good things.
I'm grilling you here.
Yeah, that's a really hard question. Biggest learning. That's tough. Probably biggest learning is probably just being around, and I know I've said a fair bit around it, but that knowledge of how many calories and what type of calories are in certain foods.
Yeah,
It's one of the things I like about that MyFitnessPal is that it tells you how much fat, how much, um, how many sugars that's in each of the portions that you're eating, and that sort of has given me a bit of an idea because I think I could eat 1,800 calories, but they could all be high in saturated fats, and then I'm really not going to be as healthy. So that's sort of been a bit of an adaptation that I've done through the program, is a bit more conscious of what type of food I'm eating to get to the calorie targets as well. So yeah, I'd say that's been the biggest learning.
yeah. Brilliant. And any final words for anyone watching about your experience joining the program?
Final words would be, if you're a little bit like self-conscious of yourself and concerned about how you feel with your health and well-being, that your program's a great environment to get past those little fears, because it's been really supportive. It's been easy to follow, and the improvements that I've got have been really good so far, and I hope to continue on that path.
That's brilliant, man. Man, I really appreciate you doing this with me. It's
No problem.
been really cool seeing you progress, and I
Cheers.
can't wait to see your goals as we continue down this path.
Me too.
Nail on those goals.
Cool.
Good stuff. Awesome,
Cheers,
mate.
mate.